Great. So one of the things that clearly entrepreneurs need, particularly those that are for-profit, is capital. I hope we have, by the way, put to rest this idea that it's only about capital, or even that capital is the most important thing. So if you're going to take one or two things away, take that one away. And if you disagree, then come fight with us afterwards. But capital is important if you want to scale the business. So Mitchell, why don't we start with you? These guys all have identified some great entrepreneurs. They've gone through 2 or 3 years of programs. They've been connected to networks, but they want to get some serious money. How does OPIC play a role in that? And then I'll ask the rest of you guys.
Well, if you look at all entrepreneurs from the very small to the very, very large on a spectrum, OPIC is trying to identify ways to provide access to financing along that spectrum. So we support microfinance institutions, some of which are moving as part of the missing middle denotes into the space. So we particularly support those who are doing home improvement loans and small business loans as they become larger. We support entities like Shared Interest in South Africa, which makes available financing and in a sense connects a very small woman in South Africa, generally a poor woman, with financing not only from OPIC but also from other investors in the United States and elsewhere, and making that linkage work. We support Microplace with some mezzanine capital assistance to source retail investment into SMEs and the industry of the poor, access to capital for the poor. We support commercial bank facilities. So we're looking all the way along this spectrum to bring money. These companies, these NGOs and small investors represent the future for many of us. I guess you had that in one of the Fs. And we want to build framework agreements that are very simple and not paperwork intensive, so that once the work has been done by these individuals and organizations on the ground in networks and with good oversight, because nobody wants to fail at this thing, then we want to make it easy to get them financed.
Let's say you gentlemen have found some companies, and despite Mitchell's charm and grace, you've decided you don't want help from the government, though you should actually think about OPIC, and I think it's an underutilized resource. What are the other sources that you go to? How do you leverage your input into these organizations to help them find the financial capital that can help them grow? And keep these answers short if you can.
So on our side, it's very individual. It really depends on the entrepreneur, their situation, and their local context. We actually don't take any government funding, but we are very fond of some of the changes in government that are occurring where we see great entrepreneurship actually on the government side. So we have strong relationships on the foundation side, on the investor side. Increasingly, we seek to help bridge that gap, though I think we play a complementary role. We do not, for example, help prep you for VCs. But it's by participating in the networks that you may get access and relationships to a number of different funding sources in that regard. In some cases, we've actually set up things like funding facilities and et cetera, but for us, it's very dependent on what the social change is that we're seeking to bring about.
We introduced the pioneers into networks like, just recently we introduced somebody to Nokia who then got $1 million investment from them. And in a way, it's because we've done a lot of due diligence. The whole thing goes much faster. There are, of course, local angels that we work with, and then VCs like Steve Becker over there who looks at some of the companies. And that's another thing. I mean, we have these companies. If anybody here wants to have a list of them and so on, we've done this due diligence, and it's there. If you want it, you can have it.
You should get in line behind me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, we are working, and I don't want to go into details, but if you're interested, I'll talk about it offline. But we are forming a new loan program, as sort of a bank that does specific loans, that works with different kinds of ways of doing guarantees and collateral and things like that. Because I really think that the market is really ripe for the loan system, even before the VC side.
So at Endeavor, we've helped our entrepreneurs raise about $500 million in capital. And that comes in a variety of different ways. That's both international capital through venture capitalists and private equity firms, and that's also through local investors. And so again, I've talked a lot about community. It's really about engaging that investor community and getting them plugged in and linking them up with our entrepreneurs. So we have pitch forums, which is kind of the inside of our mentor capital program. Once we've already worked with our entrepreneurs to prepare for for raising capital, we then invite many of our people from the investment community to come and actually participate in these pitch forums. And then kind of on the loan side, we've worked with leading banks in both Mexico and Turkey to set up specific funds for loans specifically for our entrepreneurs at lower interest rates. And so we're getting into more and more creative ways of helping these entrepreneurs access capital.